Good morning and a very warm welcome to this brand new series of my interviews of fearless entrepreneurs, fearless female entrepreneurs. I'm Rachel Smith, the Business Grower, your host, and it is my absolute pleasure to bring this series to you of amazing, fearless entrepreneurs who have inspired me, who I'm connected with, and it's my opportunity to use this interview series to bring these people to you, not just to hear their massively inspiring story, as you will hear Yasmin's in a moment, but also for you to really get to understand how you can use all of this information that's out there in the universe, how you can use this information to actually grow your profitable business. And that's what Yasmin is all about. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So this interview is going to run for about 30 minutes. If you've got any questions, please post them up. I will use the magic of Be Live TV and pop them onto the screen. Or if you've got any comments that you want to share with us, please do. And then we'll take any questions that you've got from what Yasmin shares later on at the end of the interview. And I'm really delighted to have Yasmin here. We were just reminiscing on the kind of pre-interview warm-up that we first met probably 5 or 6 years ago when she was pregnant with her second child. And that is absolutely amazing. So I'm delighted to introduce to you our guest for today, which is Yasmin Vorajee, who is this amazing woman who's got a thriving, profitable business. And somehow she's managed to squeeze in the time between having a thriving, profitable business, having 3 kids and a husband, living in Ireland, and rural Ireland, I think, as well. Isn't
Yeah, we're Northwest. Yeah.
Yeah. And she has also written a brand new book, which is Tiny Time, Big Results, which is Yasmin's kind of big message. So kind of what Yasmin's going to share with you today is basically how you can be like Yasmin and work very limited time in your week, because you can imagine how busy Yasmin is, and actually still grow a profitable business. So I really want to get into this, Yasmin, because it's such a fundamental challenge that female entrepreneurs have all the time, isn't it? Really being able to do everything, be everything to everybody else, have some time and energy for yourself, and like follow your desire to have this profitable business. So let's, because I understand a little bit about your story and your journey, and it's really inspiring. It's very similar to myself. So I'd love for you to just kind of kick off this interview by sharing, you know, who you are and what your business is.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Rachel, first of all, for having me on your series. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's great to reconnect as well, because I know we always see each other on Facebook. So it's always good to talk. So like I said, I'm Yasmin, and I created Tiny Time, Big Results about 4 years ago. I've been in business for myself for about 6 years. And I kind of class a lot of those years as being in the wilderness of business, not having a clue what I was doing and just trying to make it all work and figure it out and follow all these different gurus who are telling me what to do, and this, that, and this formula and that formula and this secret. And, it was exhausting. It was exhausting because you're kind of constantly buying lots of courses and programs in the hope that something will be the magic that will tell you how to run a profitable business. And I suppose for me, I started my business when I was made redundant from my corporate job. I was in corporate for 12 years, and I was in training and coaching and development. I was like a vice president of leadership development in my last role. And when that job disappeared, I'm in rural Ireland. I'm 2 hours away from Dublin. And the chance of getting another job like that was like zilch. And I didn't want to be a commuter mom. At that time, my eldest was 15 months old. And I knew I didn't want to be a commuter mom. I wasn't going to go 2 hours and 2 hours back and never see, our child. And plus we wanted to have more kids as well. So that was always on the card. So it was like, how am I going to make this work? And there's been always a big part of me that's wanted to have my own business. Always, even since I was a teenager. Never knew why or why it was such a big deal for me. But I think I had this sense of being the master of my own destiny and having control over my own time. I think Diane Keaton, the film Baby Boom, had a big impact on me, because you could see this woman, losing the plot, trying to look after a child and stuff. So we weren't really, I suppose, we didn't have great role models to show us that it could be done, and so I started my business from necessity, first of all, because I was the main breadwinner in our family. So, and my husband looked after our child. So I had to, make a business. And, after having worked in big business for 12 years, you would have thought I would know what I was doing. And I really didn't. I didn't have a clue. I kind of cringe and laugh at the same time as to how naive I really was. And I think that, partly the reason why I wrote the book was, this is the book that I wish I'd had when I first started. So that would tell me, okay, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to, take the steps to, in order for you to have a good business.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that resonates so much with me, Yasmin, that you start this business, don't you? And you think, well, I was in business prior to that, and you think that you can just start to run your own business, but all of a sudden you're like the CEO, the marketing director, the sales director,
technology,
everything, and the coffee maker as well at the end of the day. Plus, you're juggling like life as well. Yeah. And you do start to follow all of these, because there's some really inspiring people that you can follow on the internet. But unfortunately, there is this kind of belief that there's a formula that you just slot yourself into, and hey presto, everything works. And I definitely got sucked into that. And it's one of my big messages for my audience is that there is, that the only thing that works is like alignment and taking inspired, awesome action in your business as you, and you can't behave like somebody else. Yeah. So I think it's such an important message, because I still see this, this marketing approach that there's a formula that you need to have in order to succeed. So I think, building a business is all about understanding that there's no cookie cutter approach. And I think that's why a book like yours is so essential for anybody, regardless of where they are in business, because we can all fall into the cycle of different elements of our business and thinking, oh my God, I've got it wrong. Even when we're succeeding, it might be that you hit a point of leverage. So I think, a book like yours is absolutely essential. So just thinking about, your business, there you are, working with business owners to be profitable in tiny amounts of time. Who are your kind of key clients? Who do you love to work with?
I love working with people who have some kind of like a transformational message in what they do. So they make someone's life better, easier, happier. And I know that sounds so broad, but I suppose it really encompasses the different types of people that I've worked with over the years. Like, so I can always think of, like, one of my very first clients was Mary, my wedding lingerie. I talk about her a lot. She's kind of she's a really dear friend of mine now, but she's not a coach. She's not a consultant. She's not someone who is necessarily selling what she knows, but she's created an amazing product that makes brides feel like $1 million on their wedding day. And that, when I first met with her, she was making beautiful lingerie. She was charging £50 for a bra. And I remember asking her, like, it took her 8 hours to make one because they were handmade, and she was charging £50. And I was like, okay, seriously undercharging, and you're not even covering your costs probably. And, in the way that we've worked together, we've now created a product. Well, she did the work. She's created a product that she now charges 15 times for the same amount of work.
Yeah.
And I remember when I said to her, I want you to put the price up. At the time, it was like $250. As I want you to put the price up to 500. And she was like, oh God, no, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. But she did it. And then when I just spoke to her a couple of months ago, and I was just kind of getting something, I wanted to know if I could use her in the book. She's one of the case studies. And then she says, I'm charging $750 now. And I went, oh my God.
And it's like, not only is she charging $750, but she's got people buying it at $750. Yeah.
She's booked out months in advance. I remember at the beginning of this year, she told me that she was booked up until October. So like she was 10 months booked out. Wow. And, she's brides all over the world. And, because she's based up in Belfast. So, and, it was just it was the shift. And so like she makes people feel amazing in their dress. You know, I've worked with people, I've worked with a great gardener in Portugal. She's an English lady, but she does landscape gardening, and her unique, I suppose, unique selling point, if you like, was that she was helping people to use plants in their gardens that didn't require a lot of water, which was perfect for their geographical location, because they were based in Portugal and they didn't have a lot of water. So again, it's about the shifts that people make in their business that enables them to make it profitable in the time. Like at the time, she had an 18-month-old daughter, then she's had another baby since, you know. So I've worked with coaches, consultants, like with loads of different types of people and lots of different types of businesses. But for me, and I say very early on in the book, there is no magic formula. Just because something worked well for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work well for you. But if you follow the guiding principles behind the action, that moves you forward. So I'm not a gardener, I'm not a lingerie creator, but the principles that we apply to their business makes it work. And that's, I think, the beauty of it is that too often we abdicate our business growth to somebody else because they've done something, and you know, you think, oh well, you know, that person's going to help me. And then they could say, you know, your coach might say to you, I want you to do this, and you're going to go, oh, that doesn't feel right, I don't want to do that. And they're like, no, you've got to do it this way because this is how it worked for me. But there's every single part of you is shouting, no, this is not me. That's when I have a problem with that, because I know when I've had conversations with my clients and they say, I really don't want to do that. And it's important to be able to understand why they don't want to do it, because it could just be some fear. And, you know, like, oh, like I was chatting to a client last week and I said, you know, she's just starting out. And I said, okay, I want you to put a post up, you know, I want you just to start talking about what it is that you do. And she was like, oh my God, you know, and she was really afraid. So it wasn't the case of that it wasn't right for her. It was just that she was afraid. So it's about being able to discern the reasons why you don't want to do something. But I think that that's really important, that in business, you have the inner business wisdom already, but we don't listen to it because you haven't created the results yet. So you don't trust it yet, but we then pass all our trust over to someone else. And that oftentimes doesn't work. And then we wonder why we didn't get the results that they said that we would get. You know, why didn't I hit 6 figures in 6 months? You said I would do that. And it's like, there's a whole bunch of steps that need to go and need to happen before you can actually, you know, have that amazing result.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. So in terms of, got a slight echo there. That's helpful. I'm just going to talk through it. It's gone. So in terms of, you know, you've been in business for kind of 6 years now. You've written a book. You've birthed 3 humans. You know, what in everything you've done, you've worked with these amazing clients and really cutting through the marketing BS that's out there about formulas and solutions and all the rest of it. So in terms of that, you know, what has been your biggest achievement to date in your business?
I think, and this is something that I kind of always talk to my kids about, especially my eldest, because he's 8. And, you know, so whenever I tell him, like I say, oh, I signed a new client today. And he's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I think the biggest thing for me is knowing that I've created value and I'm able to sell that value. I think that for me has been the biggest achievement. That's the thing that gives me the most incredible high. It's like every time I sign a new client, every time I see another book being sold, every time I see a program being sold, it's like, it never gets old. It never gets old that I created this value and I've been able to exchange that. And that's what my son keeps saying to me, like, can you teach me how to do a business? And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to teach you. You know, it was like indoctrinate them at a young age. I said, just purely so that, you know, I said, so that they know how it works. Because one of the things I talk to him about is it's a fallacy. It's this myth that we grew up with, that you have to work hard to make money. And it's like, some of the hardest working people in this world are the poorest people, you know, and, you know, some of the most laziest people are, you know, the ones who are the richest. And you see that. And I said, so it's not how the world is built. The world is not built on working really hard. And that for me, I suppose, is a big reason, not to say I'm lazy, but, you know, I've enough to do with, you know, with the kids. And like you say, trying to raise 3 humans. I think that leverage is a huge part of my message, is because in creating a book, in creating my programs, every bit of marketing I do, there's leverage in that, so that I can use that small bit of effort, well, big bit of effort with the book, but they use that effort. But now it just keeps working for me. I don't have to keep showing up every single day to trade my time for money, which is what a job is. That's what we do, is we exchange our time and our labor for, the money. But I don't need to do that. And I think that for me is really important. That for me is why Mary's, bridal lingerie works so well, is because she's expending the same amount of time, but she's creating a huge return on that, and I think that is really key, is that when you can build that leverage and really create the value, I think that is so most exciting. Like, you can look at some people and you kind of think, oh, that's a really horrible business, where someone's doing something that's really unethical, and I think that for me is really important, is that, like you say about alignment, that it's got to be in alignment with who you are and your values. But then when you've created that value and then people value it enough to pay for it, I think that's been my biggest achievement, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, definitely. I love that though. I love that it's about, I'm just going to talk through I just think I need to carry on talking and get through this echo. But yeah, I think it is about, the passion and the value that you add to your audience, and leverage. It still shocks me when I discover people who are still have that old policy of exchanging time for money, when there's so many smarter, more efficient ways to work it. But I know that you talk about that in your book. So let's talk about the book then, because this is amazing. In all your business, you have written and launched and now selling this amazing book, Tiny Time, Big Results. And that's what we all want. That we all talk about having a freedom business, and so many people struggle to achieve that. And within the book, you talk about the 4 key principles to running a profitable business. And I think this is quite a clear distinction that I want the viewers to hear, is that, Yasmin's not talking about having like a hobby business. She's talking about growing a profitable business. And I know that there are a lot of people working really, really hard in the business, and they're generating some money, but they're a little bit like Mary was in the early days, where the money isn't translating to the amount of effort and hours that they're actually putting into generating that money. So this is about, this is like running your business as the true CEO that you are, having a freedom to raise humans or go and do something else, or to fit your business around another job. But it's about generating true profit. So let's dive into these 4 kind of key principles that you talk about in the book, Yasmin, because I think these are the key elements of people, they're really going to get some aha moments from listening to this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you were kind of emphasizing the profit piece of it, because in the book, I even talk about the fact that the profit principle, which is the second principle, is actually one of the chunkiest, meatiest principles in the book. And I pay a lot of attention to that, because I want people to have a profitable business. It's not just a hobby, like you say. So the first principle is purpose. So it's kind of similar to what we've been talking about, having that sense of alignment, knowing why your business exists. And, money is one reason, but, as research has shown us, that once you reach a certain level of income, your happiness doesn't increase the more money you make. Once your basic needs are covered and, you've got a comfortable lifestyle, you don't actually get happier the more money you make. Okay. And I always see it feels like it would do, if you don't have it, but it actually doesn't. And so money is one success measure, but there are so many other things. And if you don't have a business that really makes your heart sing, I always kind of think about it as making your soul sing as well as your purse. Then, when it gets tough, when it's not easy, when there are challenges, which happens all the time, then it makes you, if you don't have a purpose, it makes it a lot harder to keep going. That sense of resilience, that sense of, I got to do this, I've got to do this. And, it could be a big part of my purpose is that I've got a family to feed. I've got a family to care for, and I don't want our lives to be stressful because of the money aspect of things. So money is one part of that. But then I also want to think about, okay, what opportunities do I want to create for my children? What opportunities do I want to create in our life? How can we make someone else's life better? If I could help people with what I've discovered and learned and continue to learn on my tiny big results journey, because I don't say I'm an expert, I just say this, I'm like an adventurer as well. I'm kind of just figuring this out as well as everybody else. Might just be a few steps ahead of you. So it's like, so what's the purpose behind what you do? The second one is profit, around how do you actually have a profitable business, and a business that actually makes you the money that you want. And so often I see businesses hemorrhaging money just purely because, very simply, their business model is not set up to be a profitable business. Like you say, if you're trading time for money and you only have limited time, then that doesn't work. Like I work between 9 and 12 every day, Monday to Friday, because my kids are in school and my youngest is in creche. But he only just started creche in September. So before that, he was at home with me all the time. So I had probably about 2 hours a day to actually get my business done. And he'd be there, like, I'd see him coming in the background. He'd come and sit down on my lap. He'd have a little feed, so it wasn't easy, but, you make it work. And then the third principle is around productivity. So if you are sitting down and you've only got a couple of hours, how do you make that be the most productive time? And that for me is really about focus. It's about knowing exactly what to work on. And I think that's one of the key things that, so many people, and I know I do this as well, where you sit down and go, what will I work on today? And
there's so many.
It's like, what will I do? Whereas, if you've got a plan and say, right, okay, for the next 90 days, this is what I'm working on. And you break that 90-day plan down into months and weeks and days, it's so much easier to know that, okay, when I sit down, I need to write a blog, or I need to video this, or I need to create this bit of content, and then you get that done and then you go, great, tick, tick, tick. Okay, now I can go and pick up my kid. So productivity, it's huge around focus, but it's knowing what to focus on. Because often I hear business owners saying to me, like, can you help me be more productive? And oftentimes the way that we use our time or the way that we don't use our time well, is more a symptom of the profitability aspect of the business. Like if the business model isn't working, then it doesn't matter how productive you are, you're not going to make the business work. You have to fix the business model. And then the fourth principle is around play. And this is the bit that always gets people kind of going, oh yeah, I haven't got time for that. It's a bit like when I used to be in corporate. And, people would wear like a badge of honor, like, I didn't have time for lunch today. I didn't have time for a cup of tea. I was so busy. And you know what? I just can't be bothered with that. Like, I like to take a break. I need to take a break, and it's about play. It's about making time for rest. It's about making time for fun. It's about looking after your inner world as well, because being in business is tough. Your mindset constantly needs work around helping you to, be strong, persevere, be resilient, value yourself. I think that's why I get so passionate about the whole idea of creating value. But you also need to value yourself and your experience, your expertise, your knowledge, all the things that, I've been training and coaching for nearly two decades now, which is a bit scary to say. But, if I didn't value that, if I didn't say, actually, do you know what, everything that I've learned, everything that I continue to learn, that's what I share with my content and with my clients. If I didn't value that, then the business wouldn't last very long. And that, I think, is a big challenge for a lot of business owners as well, is when they talk about pricing. I think every single sales conversation I've ever had, someone has always said, oh, I'm not sure if I'm pricing, am I pricing it too high? Am I pricing it too low? And it just becomes, it's not necessarily a thing about the product or the service, but it's about what's going on internally.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. So I've just made a note of those principles, and they should be appearing on the screen somewhere. Hang on. That's it. So the four, like magic, woo! So the four principles. So I absolutely agree with everything you say here, Yasmin. Like having that purpose, having like a business model and products and services that allow you to be profitable, leverage your time, productivity. God, that's such a key one. I've recently went on a social media detox weekend. But it also played into some thinking that I'd had around the school holidays when I knew that I didn't want to be on social media all the time. So I've streamlined my activities during the day, and it does make you way more productive when you actually switch off the interruptions and you just get very, very focused on your plan, on the steps that you need to take forward. And then the play element, you know, I used to work, like when my children were younger, I've kind of got it the wrong way around, I think. You know, I was really, in 2015, when I was struggling in my business, really like thinking that I had to put the hours in. So I was working like 40 plus hours. And it's like, as soon as my husband came home, I used to close the door in here, and like the children would be running around, and I'd just be like, over to you, and I'd be banging away. And in all honesty, I'm too old now. I'm too old. I'm too tired to actually to do that. And also, I want to be able to like take time out for myself and take time out to do the things. But I also want to be here and be present when the children are back from school, because they've had really long days and our evenings are quite crazy as well. So we have this very small window of just being able to chill out and reconnect. And they're old enough now for me to sit and ignore them, but I'd rather that, you know, that I didn't.
Not enough. Yeah.
I'd rather not, you know, otherwise I might as well put them into a school club or something like that. Yeah. And I think that one of the things that we forget about, and I think this comes from, because so many of us come from the corporate world, is that we unconsciously, we put some kind of perimeters around our new world, our world of entrepreneurship, where we believe we have to work like 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 and work like a dog and not have lunch and not have breaks. But actually you just end up like knackered, disconnected from life and disillusioned, because actually it doesn't move you any further forward, does it? It's like when you push and shoving, it doesn't actually work.
No.
So yes, these 4 principles deeply resonate and brilliantly written in the book as well. So does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to explore anything about what Yasmin has shared to date? And if you're watching the replay back, please post up your questions. I can make sure that they are responded to, because I think this is such an important message. And I honestly wish that I had had a book like yours at the beginning of my journey.
So do I.
You have to work like a dog in your business, because actually the more time I take out is the more successful my business is. So yeah.
And you know, and it's funny because I still feel guilty if I don't feel like I'm working hard, you know, because, you know, I'll be like sitting there, you know, I might go for a walk in the morning and I'll be like, oh, should be doing something. Should be doing something.
You've only got 4 hours.
You know, yeah, exactly. You know, like, oh, you better get back. You know, you've got an hour before you got to pick up the little one, and it's like, well, that's why you're doing it this way, Yasmin. So you can take time, you know, because once the kids come home, like, and I have 3 staggered pickups. So I don't know how anybody's meant to get anything done with all these pickups that you have got to do with these kids. And, you know, so once they're all home, then they all need lunch, they all need feeding. Then, you know, all of you kind of get embroiled in all of that. And so it's so important to, I suppose, take the time for yourself as well. Otherwise, you know, you are like I think with the kids, like I feel like I'm on all the time. And so you need to be able to switch off at some stage.
Yeah.
I see Carol's got a question. Is the book available in Amazon? Yes, it's on Amazon right now. You can get the Kindle version or you can get the paperback as well. And the Kindle version is only $1.99 at the moment. So I've got some great bonuses. If you actually go to yasminvorji.com/buy TT book, do you want me to put that into the comments there, Rachel?
Put that into the comments, because you just rolled it off like you
I know, yeah. I can imagine I've said that a few times. But if you go there, then you can actually get some fantastic bonuses.
We all love a bonus, don't we?
Just like a Brucey bonus.
Bonuses are great. I'm just waiting for it to come. I think there is a time lag. I think that's why we're getting the echo. It's right. We've got the sea between England and Ireland. Let's have a look.
You're welcome, Carol.
It's not come up, I'm afraid.
Is it not come up?
No.
Okay, will I send it? Will I copy it and put it into your Facebook?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
And then that way we can just do it there. So that way.
we'll get it sorted. But yeah, it is a really good read. And like I said, let me just pick this up so I can just share it. Oh, I love technology. To be able to do this live, it's great, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
Link. So if you want to access those bonuses that Yasmin was sharing, and there'll be good ones as well, there's the link so you can actually go and buy the book. But yeah, honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure to reconnect with you again after all this time. And I know that we do see each other on Facebook but actually to have a conversation and catch up with what's been going on in your world, and reading your book and seeing what you can achieve in, this is real life. Yasmin is a real woman with real stuff going on, who works 9 till 12, and she's written a book and runs a profitable business. So it's just sure that you can do that.
Yeah, and I suppose it's interesting because this morning I was kind of feeling a little of like, oh God, it feels like really strange because for the last 5 months I've been working on this book and marketing it and all that kind of stuff and getting it published. And I suppose there's a story in there as well, because I wrote the book. I've been writing the book for the last 3 years, and I sent it to an editor around April time this year. And she sent it back with all these questions. And I looked at it and I went, oh my God, Yasmin, you've written absolute rubbish. I really did not like what I had written at all. So I scrapped it. I scrapped the whole thing and I started again and I wrote the book in a month. So I wrote 35,000 words in the month of May. And it's now 42,000, but in that month of May, because after the editing and everything like that. But so if anybody's interested in terms of from a book publishing, I wrote the book. I've self-published and it went live on Amazon last week on the 26th of September. And by lunchtime on that day, we'd hit #1 bestsellers in about 3 categories. So, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, really good. But it was following some really key principles around how to do it. But again, it's not a formula, and I wouldn't sell it as a formula of how to write a book in 5 months and all the rest of it. But I followed some, really important lessons from other people who've done something similar. And I think that's really important. That for me, it is very much around productivity, but knowing what to be productive on is really key.
Yeah. Yes, it is. There's a lot of things, shiny objects out there that can send you off down the wrong track and really can blind you for a long time. But you had that clear goal, Yasmin, that you're going to have this book. Had you set yourself a timescale about when you were going to publish it by?
Yes. So this year I turned 40. And so I was determined that this was going to be the year that I finally get off my backside and actually publish the book. So that was one of the key things that actually drove me, was because when I wrote the book, I had 5 test readers, so that the first draft was going to go to test readers to read it for me, to just let me know if the content made sense and all that kind of good stuff. I gave them a date. I said, I will get the book to you by this date, and they'll have a week to read it and give me their feedback. Yeah. My God, I was not going to miss that date. And so that meant that I was waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, writing for a couple of hours before the kids got up and I had to send them to school and all that kind of stuff. But I suppose what happened before that was I was working on my content. I was doing the work with clients. I was refining my process, and everything that you see in the book is what I teach my clients now through my programs and my mentoring. But because I'd been refining that, when I kind of planned out the book and said, right, this is what I'm going to actually write about, when I'd sit down, I'd see the heading and I'd just start writing. And that's what made it easy for me to be able to do that. So there was kind of like a process that allowed me to get to that point. But 5 months, and again, actually, there was a few things that happened that I wasn't sure whether I was going to meet the publishing deadline, like as in the launch date. And I was like kind of going, will I just push it back? And I went, no, you're just going to go all in. You're just going to go all in. And, Rachel, you're familiar with kind of what I was doing as part of the launch process. And, so there was a big piece of that. So everything that I did I didn't do it by myself. I certainly didn't get to, you know, #1 bestseller by myself. You know, I had a great launch team behind me that really helped me. And that's kind of a big piece of it as well, because it was all about the relationships that I had built with people. They weren't just randomers who were helping me. They were all people that I knew. I think only maybe a handful of people were actually people who'd just been in my community, but everyone else, I'd known them for, you know, a good bit of time, that we'd built relationship and people wanted to help then, you know. And so that's another key little thing for a little bonus strategy is, you know, always be building relationships, always be building relationships.
Yeah, and ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, that is amazing. Louise is saying it's really great to hear that self-publishing is a successful route, because so many people doubt whether it is. So I can tell from the... Yeah.
Can I just say about that, Rachel, as well? You make a lot more money when you self-publish because you can keep the royalties than the traditional publisher. I'm going to say that right off the bat because of all the stuff that I've learned about self-publishing, and I'm sure we could probably do a whole nother interview on self-publishing. But royalties, you know, there's a lot around there about, you know, self-publishing. And I think that people think that self-publishing means that you've just written a really bad book and that you've just published it because nobody else would publish it for you. You know, but the problem is, like, I remember I approached a publishing house and they told me that I was too niche.
Wow.
And I was like, really? I don't think I am, but fair enough. So I went, right, I'll do it myself then. I'm not going to wait for someone else's permission.
Yeah, well, Yasmin is not the sort of woman to be deterred by somebody else's opinion, you know, and she just goes to prove that actually, was she too niche? I'm not sure you'd get to #1 if you were too niche. This is obviously deeply resonating with the people who are buying the book. So really brilliant, really fantastic to have you on this morning, Yasmin. And
thank you.
Really good luck with the book. You know, and I'd love to hear from people who are in my world who go on and buy the book and read it. You know, I'd love to hear for you to come into my Facebook group. Just tell me what you think about it, what you've learned from it, because I know that you will definitely learn some key things from lots of things from the book. So thank you, Yasmin, and thank you to everybody who's joined us both live and watching the recording back. It's been brilliant to have you all here today and to talk to Yasmin about everything about creating a profitable business in tiny amounts of time. Till next time, bye for now.